everyone. This video is about the visual pathway. That is, how the visual signals are conveyed to your brain. A simple question, how can you see an object? For example, I am holding one marker in my hand. How can I see this thing? First, the light strikes on the marker, then it reflects to my eye, right? Of course it is correct. First the light should strikes on the object, then it reflects to my eye. The light rays first crosses my corneal layer, then it crosses the aqueous humor, then it crosses the pupil, then the lens, vitreous humor, and finally it strikes on the retina. Okay, retina is the most innermost part of the eye. So finally the light ray strikes the retina. Now can I see this thing? Absolutely not. Okay, when the impulses from the retina reaches my brain only, I can see that thing. Okay, so when the light strikes on the retina, that is the neural layer of retina. Okay, in the neural layer of retina you can find light receptors like rods and cones. Okay, these light receptors will convert this light energy into action potential. Okay, the retina will convert, that is the rods and cones in the retina will convert the light into current, light energy into current energy, that is the action potential, electrical energy. Okay, and these impulses is transmitted through the brain via the optical nerves. Okay, all that things we have seen in the previous video. In the structure of eyeball we have seen how the optical nerves are arising from the retina. Okay, so these optical nerves arises from the retina, then these impulses will be transferred to which part of the brain? There are certain areas for certain senses. Okay, for perceiving special stimuli, there are certain region in the brain. Okay, and for processing the visual information, there is a particular area in the brain. Okay, it is known as the visual center. Where is the visual center seen? In the occipital lobe. Okay, what does occipital lobe mean? See, suppose this is your brain. Okay, this is your brain. So, brain can have 4 lobes. Okay, which are the 4 lobes of the cerebral cortex? First one, the frontal lobe. Okay, which is, you can see in the front region, the frontal lobe. This is the frontal lobe. And second one, okay, just lower to the frontal lobe, you can see the temporal lobe. Okay, which is almost near to your ear. It is the temporal lobe. Then little behind the frontal lobe you can see the parietal lobe. Okay, parietal lobe is seen behind the frontal lobe, and behind and lower to the parietal lobe is the occipital lobe. Okay, so the visual area, the visual cortex or the visual center is confined or located in the occipital lobe of the brain. Okay, so now we are going to see how these impulses are transmitted from retina into the occipital lobe of the visual center in the occipital lobe. Okay, so that particular pathway is known as visual pathway. Okay, visual pathway is the neural or optical pathway by which the impulse from retina is carried to the visual center in the occipital lobe. Okay, how the impulses in the form of action potential is transmitted from the retina of the eyeball to the cerebral cortex, that is the occipital lobe. Okay, visual cortex of the occipital lobe of the brain, this region. Okay, now we are going to see what are the each steps of the visual pathway. First, we'll start with the visual field. Okay, What is visual field? What all things you can see with your eye is known as visual field. For example, I am closing one of my eye. Okay, I am closing my right eye, and what I am seeing is the visual field of the left eye. Okay, and this visual field can range 160 degree horizontally and 135 degree vertically. Okay, so one visual field is that what all things, what is the field that you can see with the help of eye. Okay, so suppose I am closing one eye, what I am seeing is the visual field of this eye. If I am closing my left eye, what I am seeing right now is the visual field of right eye. Okay, and how it ranges? 160 degree. Okay, we do not have 360 degree visions. 360 degree means we can also see behind our head. And we are not blessed with that. Unfortunately, we can only see this particular area, that is 160 degree horizontally and 135 degree vertically. Okay, that is the visual field of each eye. Okay, and the visual field, the right eye is also having visual field, the left eye is also having its own visual field, and the visual field can be divided into two parts. Okay, this is my visual field of left eye, and this particular region also I can divide into two parts. The temporal, that is the outer region, is temporal, and the region which is near to nose is known as the nasal. Okay, so the visual field, the whole visual field, 160 degree horizontally visual field, we can divide into two portions. Okay, first one is the nasal visual field, that is of course the right one. Okay, if I'm observing the visual field of left eye, I can see the right side is the nasal one. Okay, the visual field which is more near to your nose, okay, it is known as the nasal visual field, and the visual field on the outer, okay, the outer field is the temporal visual field. Temporal means which is more in the direction of your ear. Okay, so the field which is closer to your nose is nasal visual field, and the field which is closer to your ear, that is outer. Okay, outer field is known as the temporal visual field. So this indicates the visual field. Okay, so from this we can understand that the total visual field, this is my 160 degree visual field. Okay, so the total visual field can be divided into two. The temporal is the outer visual field, and nasal is the inner visual field, okay, which is near to your nose. And okay, I am drawing one nose here. Okay, so nasal is more close to your nose. And also, what about the visual field of your right eye? This is right eye, this is left eye. Okay, what is the condition of visual field in your right eye? Of course, this one is the nasal field. Okay, the field which is closer to your nose, that is the nasal field, and which is away from the nose and which is near to the ear is known as the temporal field. Okay, so now I think you are clear with the this visual field. Okay, now what you are going to see is how this visual field, the light rays from the visual field reflect on your retina. Okay, this one is one eyeball. This is the left eyeball, this is the right eyeball. Okay, this eyeball, this is the sclera, this bulged area is the cornea, and the inner part is the retina. Okay, and this retina also we can divide into two parts, temporal and nasal. Okay, so this retina, this red colored part of the retina, the whole retina, okay, whole retina which can be range a little beyond the center of the eyeball. Okay, so this whole retina we can divide into two portions. the temporal one and the nasal one. Like the visual field, the retina can also be divided into temporal hemiretina. It is half, okay, so it is known as hemiretina. The temporal hemiretina and the nasal hemiretina. Okay, in here also, this one is the nasal one, nasal hemiretina, and this one is the temporal one. This is the left eye. Okay, so I suppose you are clear. Now we are going to see how the light from the visual field is directed onto the retina. Okay, suppose the light ray from the temporal region, if you are seeing things and one object in your temporal region, okay, how you can see that? So the light rays from the temporal region is directed to the opposite retina. Okay, so light rays from the temporal region strikes on the nasal retina. Okay, nasal hemiretina. And light rays from the nasal field of vision, nasal visual field, strikes on the opposite side of the retina, that is the temporal side of retina. Okay. Okay, so light from the visual field goes to the retina in opposite. It crosses, okay, in opposite direction. That means from temporal, light rays goes to the nasal retina. From nasal, it goes to the temporal retina. It is the case of left eye. Okay, and what we can see in right eye, the same process itself. The nasal will strike on the temporal and temporal will strike on the nasal retina. Okay, temporal, the light from the temporal visual field strikes on the nasal retina. Okay, it goes in opposite direction. It strikes with the opposite retinal portion. Okay, now the light has just reached the retina. Now we are going to see how this impulse is going into the rest of the portion, into the brain. Okay, so from here, this retina will convert the light energy into electrical energy, and electrical energy will be passed through the brain by optical nerves. Okay, so from the optical nerves, from the retina, the optical nerves will be arising. Okay. The optical nerves from the temporal, the optical nerve from the temporal side, I'll use this marker, okay. Temporal side and nasal side descends. Okay, it goes little beyond, little to your brain region. Okay, and in here also, the nasal, from the nasal retina, the impulses go through the optical nerve. Okay, and from here also. When these optical nerves, these are optical nerves, okay. These are optical nerves carrying impulses from the retina. Okay, when these optical nerves reach at a point, where is that point? In the forebrain. Okay, when these optical nerves reach at the forebrain, what happens? In these optical nerves, some of the optical nerves crosses to the other side, some of the optical nerve does not cross, it follows the same tract. Okay, so please listen. The temporal optical nerves, okay, the optical nerves coming from the temporal retina, temporal optical nerves, it goes through the same side. Okay, this is a point known as the optical chiasma. Let me tell you, optical chiasma is the point in the forebrain. Optical chiasma is the point in the forebrain where these optical nerves meet. Okay, at this point, some of the nerves will cross and some of the nerves does not cross. It follows the following tract. Okay, it does not cross, it goes just like that only. Okay, and we can see which are the nerves that are not crossing. Okay, the temporal nerve fibers does not cross. Okay, and here also this temporal one does not crosses, but the nasal retinal nerve fibers, okay, the nasal retinal nerve fibers, what happens to that? It will cross. Okay, it will cross, and this tract is known as optical tract. Okay, this one is optical tract. So at the optical chiasma, only the nasal retinal fiber will be crossing. So this crosses to this side, and this will be crossing on to this side. Okay, and you can find two kinds of nerve fibers here: ipsilateral nerve fibers and contralateral nerve fibers. Ipsilateral nerve fibers means the nerve fibers which does not cross at the point of optical chiasma. Okay, the nerve fibers which follows the same side only, does not cross, it is known as ipsilateral. And you can also find the contralateral nerve fibers here, right? Contralateral nerve fibers means the nerve fibers which can cross. Okay, at the optical chiasma, some of the nerve fibers, which nerve fibers? Only the nasal retinal nerve fibers will be crossing. Okay, it will be crossing and follows the optical tract. Okay, after the optical chiasma, you can find these nerve fibers are going through a tract known as optical tract. Okay, so this left optical tract includes nerve fibers from the temporal region of left eye and nasal region, nerve fibers of the right eye. And what about the right optical tract? The right optical tract is having nasal retinal fibers from the left eye and also the nasal retinal fiber, the temporal retinal fiber from the right side. Okay, so one optical tract will contain both ipsilateral and contralateral nerve fibers. Both ipsilateral and contralateral fibers. Okay, so these nerve fibers will reach at a point, will reach at a nucleus in the thalamus region. Okay, now it reaches the thalamus. Now it reaches the thalamus. Okay, in which part of the thalamus? It is known as lateral geniculate body. Okay, these nerve impulses will synapse. These will end in the lateral geniculate body of the thalamus. Both these ipsilateral and contralateral will ends in the lateral geniculate body in the thalamus. Okay, after that what happens? It will synapse with next order neurons. Okay, and it will synapse with next order neurons. What are next order neurons? You can see third order neurons here. Okay, first and second order neurons you can find in retina, and the third order neurons means you can see first set of neuron in the retina, second set of neuron also in the retina, and third set. All these, this is the up to the lateral geniculate body, it was the second order neuron. Okay, in the retina it was a first order neuron. From the ganglionic cell of the retina it arises the second order neuron. All these nerve fibers are second order neurons. Okay, and the second order neurons now ends in the lateral geniculate body. Now the third order neurons emerges. Okay, so this will synapse here. This is the dendrites, and the cell body of the third order neurons is this. So the axon of this neurons, the third order neurons, goes to where? the visual cortex in the occipital lobe. Okay, finally this impulses reaches the visual center. Okay, first let me repeat this. From the visual field, there is temporal and nasal visual field. So the light from the temporal goes to the nasal retina. From the nasal field of vision, it goes to the temporal retina. Okay, in opposite direction it goes. Okay. From there, in the retina, what is arising? The nerve fibers, optical nerves are arising. Okay, and the optical nerves, some of the optical nerves goes in the same direction, same side of the brain. Okay, same side of the brain. Some of it will go in the same side. It is known as ipsilateral nerve fibers. That is, you can find this temporal one, right? The temporal region is the ipsilateral one, and the nasal region at the optical chiasma, there is some point at the forebrain known as the optical chiasma where some of the nerve fibers crosses. Okay, and this crosses, and both ipsilateral and contralateral nerve fibers in one particular optical tract, both of these optical tract will go into the lateral geniculate body of the thalamus. Okay, from the lateral geniculate body, the third order neurons arises. Okay, just leave the third order. From the lateral geniculate body, the next set of neurons arises. Okay, so these neurons ends here. Okay, this set of neurons ends here. These are the dendrites or the synaptic lobes of these neurons. Okay, and what happened to the next set of neurons? This is the cell body of the next set of neurons, and these axons extend from the lateral geniculate body to the occipital lobe. Okay, in the visual cortex. So the impulses is now at the visual cortex. So these visual signals are processed. Now I can see this marker. Okay, so this is how the visual pathway goes. And one important point is that when the impulse, when the nerve fibers have reached the lateral geniculate body, most of the nerve fibers are going into the visual cortex. But some of the nerves does not goes to the visual cortex. It directly goes to a region in the midbrain. Okay, and it is known as the superior colliculus. Okay, it goes to, some of the neurons will goes to the superior colliculus. You can see a round portion here, right? It is known as the superior colliculus, which is in the midbrain region. Okay, what is the function of superior colliculus? Suppose when you are seeing or observing a thing, suppose for an example, a person is passing by, okay, and you are watching him, and depending on that visual field, you will have a reflex head movement. Okay, depending on that visual field, you will move your head, and also suppose this is moving, I'll move my head, and also I'll move by my eyeball. Okay, that is the reflex head movement and the eyeball movement in response to some visual stimulus is produced by the superior colliculus. Okay, the vision is produced in the occipital lobe, but the head and eye movement, depending on the visual signal, okay, that recognition, that movement, head and eye movement is produced with the help of this superior colliculus nucleus. Okay, superior colliculus in the midbrain region. Okay, so this is all about the visual pathway, and in the next video we are going to see about the lesions in the visual pathway. Okay, if we are cutting certain region of the visual pathway, in how it affects our vision. Okay, thank you.